تعال. Dun. I am back. I'm gonna follow this tutorial. Anyways, I'm gonna get my tablet. My drone tablet is working. I the VTuber models can keep staying there staring into your soul because my phone, which I use for my camera, has zero battery and I do not want to charge it right now. I am just gonna figure out stuff. Yeah. Look, I'm finally streaming. Yay! Huh? Yeah. Who's they? I see zero people watching. There's only one person watching, and that person is me. Yes, yes, because that one viewer is gonna definitely hear you. I am back. Drone tablets still freaking out. Drone tablets so annoying. Like I had it 5 minutes ago. I have to like, keep plugging it in and out and in and out. Hyugi. Thumbnail is beautiful, honestly. Honestly. Anyways, I'm going to Hyugi tablet. Um, 08. Um, not working. USB. I am having a ton of problems with this. Like genuinely, I don't know why I even got this model. Should have done more research on Hyugi. Drivers, it ain't connecting. Oh man, micro USB cable. But USB tablet side, test with another cable like a phone charger. Who's using USB micro? Charge? Multiple. Pen? A pen? The freaking pen doesn't work. Yeah, the pen. Yeah. Pen doesn't work. Not working.
Tablet and transmit data to your computer. If your tablet is not plugged in, then that could be the reason it's not working. If the tablet is plugged in and the Wacom control panel is there, try unplugging it from the USB port and plugging it into a different one. USB ports are grouped together in buses, so you may even need to try a different grouping of ports, such as one on the front or the back of your computer. If that fails, consider trying a different USB cable to rule out the cable being broken. Maybe your cat gnawed on it last night. On that note, if your tablet problems coincided with your pen falling off of your desk or taking a dip in some water, consider that the pen could be what's broken and not the tablet. You can order replacement pens online, just be sure they are compatible with your model of tablet. Another consideration is that some tablets can connect wirelessly through Bluetooth. If Bluetooth isn't working, try plugging the tablet in through USB instead of Bluetooth to rule out that being the cause of the problem.
Yeah, yes, that's the problem. Yeah, it's malfunctioning. Yeah, so that's amazing. Yeah, of course, we always love that, right? Tablet's not working. Wireless. Let's
Most people over 40 will enter 2026 still using ChatGPT like Google. Don't be one of them. Watch
my thought process while I'm painting.
That video was so freaking stupid. Here, let me check out this cable. I have a chilling cables. Ain't the one, huh? Never is. How about this one, huh? The original cable, the OG. Yes. Yes, it works. It works. It works. Yes. 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 Is it giving me Morse code? Why did it just give me Morse code? Just give me Morse code. Guys, I know this is way too tall and stuff, but hey, who cares? Whoopsie whoopsie. Wonder what that was. And then, not searching for anything. Default. Oh, yes. Wonder what brushes he used. CP pen. Space. Shift C. I'm just gonna use pen. Oh no, bucket fill. I'm not gonna use. What am I thinking? Anyways, I'm gonna get the same like dumbbell image. Or I'm pretty sure I have my files set up over here. Screenshots. Just go down, 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 down. Where is it? Copy. Here. Now I'm gonna use eyedropper. Control I. I'm gonna use the eyedropper. Where's the eyedropper? It's P? Why would it be P? Pen? How about pen? B. It's B. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This. Fill bucket. Make it a little bit like that. And I will get the polyline. I like the polyline. I like that. I seriously don't see beef. F for fill bucket. Polyline. So just guessing. I'm gonna go to my tablet drivers. Yugi. Sync. Okay. Stylus. Space. Yes, space is way better. I like space. And F fill bucket. does it respond to opacity? Then I'm not so efficient. Then we could put a P for these F. Then I'm going to make I don't want a mask. Mask is fine. The mask is fine. The mask. Fill layer, I'm gonna call it. Should be a pretty good name. Here, there we go. Here. Then I would fill. Just filling in the base colors. Go back here. Go crazy. No, look, actually, I'll go crazy with the colors. B for brush. Up. Gonna go with some very thick brush. I've seen the guy in the tutorial also do this. F. No, F. B. Okay, I'm gonna focus more on the shadow composition and shape. So let's whatever. Just to focus on the shadow composition. The thing about it is that Blender already did that for me. So used to use smudge a lot. Or blur? I don't remember. So, lower the opacity. Oh yeah, that definitely did the trick. How do I make like a mask that's like the brush? Does that make sense? Like looks super stupid. Yes, so I'm gonna use goldish. Yes, that seems like fine. Gonna find this one. I want to use the polyline. Is that what people call it? Polyline. Green pill identifier. Ghee tablet. What's a ghee tablet? This thing's very good. Brush. Low the opacity. Use this as. Use bigger, broader brush strokes. I P like that. I'd like to layer them. Hold on. Yeah. Let's go. Control I P. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What layer am I? The hell? Huh? This. Oh yeah, I see that it's really together. I'm Picasso. I have a million programs open. I'm gonna go. Back.
Here I'm using the lasso tool, so I'm only painting on one face at once. And what I'm trying is just to create some slight variation between each face so they look a bit more 3D. I try to always start with bigger shapes at first and then slowly add in the smaller details. As you can see, I'm also picking up with the color picker colors from the gears, and I'm not just using brown colors but also green-blue hues to give it a bit of variation. Next, you're going to see I'm going to add some highlights on the edges, and it's something they do on every prop and every character in Arcane. It's really part of the style, and I'm not just going to add them on the edges but also on the surface itself. And notice how the angle of the scratches is different on every side, and I'm doing this on purpose to give it more 3D-ness even without lighting. Here I'm adding some darker scratches as well, and you're going to notice I'm not just using darker colors but also lighter colors just to highlight the side and give those cavities a bit more volume. So I'm using Photoshop here because, well, I'm a full-time illustrator and this is the tool I like to use most for painting. But you don't have to use Photoshop. You can use any painting app that you like. I know many artists will use Clip Studio Paint. So anyway, here I'm sort of roughing up the edges a bit so they're not so perfect. And Arcane is a gritty world, and I kind of want to give this impression this cube has been dropped on the floor a few times or bumped over. And I want to say, don't get discouraged if this is difficult for you to make this cube. This is perfectly normal, and that's why I chose a simple object to start with. You want to fail faster. You want to try different things in a row. It's okay if it's not perfect, but you're going to improve more rapidly. It's going to be more fun overall. Okay, and here you're going to see I'm going to start painting something simple on the ground. Just so that it's not a flat color, and I'm using a darker color on the left to give the impression it's casting a shadow. And notice how I'm using a slightly darker color very close to the cube. It's sort of faking occlusion, I guess, but in a more painterly way. And here I'm doing a quick jump back in Blender just to have some reference for lighting. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a plane, and I'm insetting another face here, which I'm deleting, so that I have this larger plane with a hole in it, and it's going to cast a sort of light in the center. And I want to use this as reference to add a bit of lighting to our camera projection. So I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for. I'm just moving it around, trying to find some interesting angle for shadows and how it falls on the cube. And I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to do a viewport render. I'm going to save this and bring this back in Photoshop. Okay, so back in Photoshop, and I've just copied and pasted the lighting on top. And I encourage you to play with blending modes. Here I'm using it in color dodge and playing with the levels of my render to get a nice lighting effect. And I'm copying this light again over my cube, which is on a different layer, and again playing with the levels to find something I find interesting. Now I'm also going to want to paint some orange on the side of this lighted section here. And I don't know if you remember the reference with powder and the chest, but this is what I'm trying to emulate. I'm using an orange color in a new layer. I'm just painting it on the side here to give the light some bleeding effect. So it looks a bit more interesting. And finally, I'm just going to paint out those gears, which I don't really need anymore. And I'm going to save this so we can start projecting it back onto our cube and floor in the 3D scene. Okay, so back in Blender, and I'm mostly done with Photoshop, so I'm going to bring the speed back to normal speed in Blender so you can better follow. So here, still looking at the cube and floor from a camera, I'm going to select both at once, then press U and project from view. So what it did is it created some UV mapping for us as if projected from the camera, as you can see here in the UV editor. And now I'm going to go in the material properties and going to switch the principled BSDF for an emission shader. And then I'm going to click on this little yellow dot, pick image texture, and open the image we exported from Photoshop. Now we need to apply the material on our plane as well. And as you can see, it's going to look a bit weird at first. And whenever things look weird like this after camera projections, it's usually because there's not enough subdivision. And as you can see, I'm going to add a couple more, 4 or 5. I'm going to press U again, then project from view, and it's going to fix everything. It's going to look just like we did, like the painting we did in Photoshop. Now, if I look around in the scene, you're going to notice that things don't look as good when I'm not looking from the camera. And it's because we're using the same texture for the floor and the cube. And we need to do an alternate texture just for the floor that doesn't have the cube in it. So here I'm just going to copy the texture we did and sort of erase the cube as best I can and paint the lighting behind it. That way we can use that texture to apply on the material for our floor. Okay, and now this is exported. I'm back in Blender, back at normal speed, and I'm going to actually rename this material to cube, and I'm going to create a copy for the floor and name this one floor. And I'm going to change the image texture for the one we just made. So as you can see, it mostly fixed the problem we had, but we still have a couple of problems. Notice the weird lighted bits on each of those edges here. This is because the camera is projecting here and stops at the edge here. Let me jump back in camera view and show you. Actually, in the UV editor, you can see it pretty well. And this matches what we see from the camera. And what we need is for the texture not to repeat when it goes outside the UV square. So I'm going to go in the shader editor, and I'm going to change this repeat option to extend. And it works because I have a brown color and my world color is brown too. So it's just extending that brown color on all sides, and it works. So I'm pretty happy with this. But let's say we have a camera move and we at some point are going to see behind the cube. And so a camera moves and then boom, you see here how this looks weird? This is because I'm going to select the faces here, and you're going to see the reason they look weird is because they're picking their color information from the front of the cube that we painted. And this is not what we want. What we want is for this to be textured differently. There's a few ways to fix this, and one of them is to do a second camera projection. So let me just move this gear here. I'm going to rename my camera to camera projection 1. And then I'm going to duplicate it with Shift D and call it projection 2. So I'm going to jump in my camera and go in my scene settings and change the camera to the second camera that we just made. And that way, if I move it, first you have to go in view, lock camera to view, and then I can move it on the side here. We're going to be able to do a second camera projection and fix this bit here. So what I'm going to do is select my cube, and we don't want to overwrite the original UV mapping done from the first camera projection. So we're going to go in the Object Data Properties under UV Maps, and we're going to create a new one with the plus button. I'm going to rename it UV Map 2. So you see if I select my faces, go back to the first UV map, I'm going to have my original. And if I click on the second one, then select my faces, and press U, Project from View, if I switch between the two, you can see I now have two different UV sets. And by default, images are going to use the first one, the one called UV Map. But I can use this vector input here to plug in a different UV set if I want to. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go in the, actually going to do a render. So View, Viewport Render Image. I'm going to bring this back in Photoshop, and I'm going to paint over the bits that we don't like. Okay, so back in Photoshop, creating a new layer. I'm selecting this face and filling it up with a flat sort of gradient color. And then I'm using some larger brushes at first to break up the shape. And then I'm using the lasso tool to do a nice sharp selection, paint a bit on it, and use a smaller brush to give it a bit of volume. Now to export, all we need is the new layer we painted. So I'm going to hide the one underneath. I'm going to save this as a transparent PNG. Bring it back in Blender. Okay, so now I'm back in Blender, and what we want to do first is create a new image texture. So I'm going to do Shift A, type in image texture. I'm going to click on open and pick the new transparent PNG that we made in Photoshop. And as I explained earlier, we need a different UV set for this image. I'm going to type in UV map. I'm going to pick the UV map 2 that we made with the second camera. And I'm going to connect the UV output to the vector so that we're using this UV map for this image. And if I switch to the UV editor, you're going to see I really need to use this second UV map. Otherwise, the new thing we painted is just not going to be aligned properly with the cube. So let's go back to the shader editor. And now we need to mix this new image on top of the other one. So I'm going to need a mix RGB. And I'm going to use the first one as color 1, the second one as color 2, and then we're going to use the alpha to tell it where this new color is going to appear. And if I plug this into the emission, you're going to see the result. Actually, if I switch back, you're going to see the difference. Now this doesn't work, and now with the new projection, we have fixed this face in the back. And here's how it looks. I encourage you to try this simple cube. It's a good exercise. And you can add a bit of sharpen. Here I'd use the unsharp mask in After Effects. Helps you see the textures a tiny bit better. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in the scene because there's one last thing I wanna show you. It's a really awesome technique I just discovered a couple months back, and I've been using it nonstop ever since. So you remember when I told you that doing the second camera projection was one way to add the texture in the back? So let me show you the other way. I'm gonna go in edit mode and gonna select these edges on the side here to unwrap the cube. So I'm just Control Shift clicking to select whole lines, and I'm trying to sort of unfold this cube. So once they are all selected, I'm gonna mark them as seams. So I'm gonna press U and mark seam. Now go to your object data properties, create a new UV set. Call it unwrapped. And select all your faces, press U, and then unwrap. I'm gonna go to the UV editor, and if everything worked correctly, you should see this cross shape here. I'm gonna just resize it, place it in the center, like this. And now that you've got this, check this out. Let's go to the shader editor, and I'm gonna create a new image. And I'm gonna click new, and then make sure that alpha is enabled. Click on the color and bring down the alpha value to 0. Rename it to, I don't know, bake texture. And then you're gonna change the resolution to 4096. And the reason we're calling this bake texture is because we're gonna bake all this information onto our unwrapped cube. So for this, I'm gonna need a new camera. I'm gonna call it bake camera. Then I'm gonna go to my scene properties, and I'm gonna change the active camera to this new camera and move it this way. Then I'm gonna hide a couple of things. The floor, go to my render settings, change film to transparent, and just frame this nicely like this. And now I'm ready. So I'm gonna go in my texture paint mode, go to tool, make sure your bake texture is selected, and then go all the way down to a weirdly hidden section called options external, and change this resolution to 4096, just like our camera output settings. And this is gonna take a render and bring it into the image editor of your choice. You can change this into your preference settings, into file paths. I have Photoshop here, and click quick edit. So it's automatically bringing this image in Photoshop, and I'm just going to save it, not do anything else. Then you want to go back in Blender and click the button apply. And that's all you need to do. Now to see the result, you'll need to plug the right UV set. So I'm going to duplicate this one, change it to unwrapped, and plug it into the vector like we did before. And if I plug the result here, you're going to see that we baked the result of our render onto the unwrapped cube. So you see this part here didn't quite render, but that's okay. We can just plug back the original projection, do a quick edit, do a quick save in Photoshop, go back, click apply, and then do this on the other side as well. Quick edit, save, go back in Blender, apply, and then if you plug in the result of this image, you can see we baked all that information onto our unwrapped cube. Now, I don't know if you understand the implications of this, but this literally means we can now bake stuff in Eevee, which I always thought was impossible. We're going to see later in this tutorial how to make the best use of this technique to build textures for a character. But first, let me just show you how to fix this common problem you might encounter, which is those thin black lines here. I'm going to save our image as a PNG, and then we're going to open it in Photoshop. And you're going to see you're going to have a single layer over transparency. I'm going to duplicate it and put it under, apply a Gaussian blur on it, and I'm going to duplicate it a bunch of times. And that way you can create a very quick and dirty bleed effect, but it's going to fix those black lines if you save this and then go back in Blender. So here I'm going to use the shortcut Alt-R to refresh, and as you can see the thin line is gone. And I can just start like painting over. I'm in paint mode, so I can just use my brush and fix whatever in Blender.